gentlemen, welcome to the Flywheelers Club, home of the snow engine. Earlier this week, we thought it'd take some down here. Nice day today. How many of you have been here before, seen the engine start? Oh, lots of repeats. This must be real thrilling to watch this thing go. From this side of the fence, it gets old after a while. How many of you have not been to the Flywheelers before? How many of you have visited? This is your first visit. How many? Good. We're glad to see you. Everybody wants to know, what does this thing do? Well, it's pumps natural gas from the wells and down to the cities, towns, factories, whatever was completed gas. The porcupine device on the far end is the pump. All those big old bolts sticking out keep the valves in the pump. We're concerned with safety, so we plated that pump off. Simply because it flashes back and forth. And once the stroke of the piston, it will come up to 55-gallon drum equivalent volume.
Coming up right away.
So, when this thing runs at 120 RPM, which we don't do any longer, but if it were to run that way, and then it would suck up 240 55-gallon drums. So under those conditions, we cleaned it off. Elsewise, if we had small children or dogs that wander around the intake of the pump, it would suck them up. We have a big valve on the end there, all 2 inches. We'll demonstrate that when we get a chance. When this engine runs, we now turn at about 60 RPM. Originally it was rated 120 RPM and produced 400 horsepower. The flywheel is 12 tons, about 12.5 foot diameter. It is governed by that kick-pin device on the top, which has got flyweights in it. They drive the connecting rods, or the rods to the carburetor, up over the top here. The carburetors are these great big cast iron pots with all the fancy looking green on the top. That regulates the air fuel mix. This is a 2-cylinder, 2-piston engine, but it acts as if it was a 4 because it actually fires on both sides of the piston. Because of that, it has piston rods instead of connecting rods. Piston rods start at the far end. And that red head on the frame. Those piston rods support the piston, the rods themselves, until they come to the middle. And we have another support in here that slides in a tray. Goes up to the far end here, has a cross head, which connects the engine to the pump through a series of 3-inch rods down through the engine. And there is where the tracking rod is. It goes from the crosshead to the wrist pin into the crank pin on the flywheel. Now that keeps the engine in motion once we get it turned over and running. It does not carry the power. The power is carried by those banjo rods. Lubrication is done by the yellow tank on the top, drains down, fix the main bearing inside, connecting rod, in, and the slide. The engine being totally closed up has to be lubricated somehow, and it's lubricated by these 6-eye oilers. 2 of these shoot oil directly onto the piston when it comes to the end of the stroke. The mechanism is timed so that the piston comes down to the end of the stroke and is almost stationary. That's when it pours oil on it. The pump on the far end is lubricated in the same manner as an oiler up there that drives oil to it. The valves in this engine, the exhaust valves, are water-cooled. If you look at the big red springs on the bottom of the engine, you'll see that they've got hoses on them. There are 4 of them hanging out the bottom here. That puts the water into the valve and takes it back out again. Water is stored outside. The tank comes in the green pipe. waters everything. Now the unique thing about the cooling system in this engine is the pistons are water cooled. The water comes in on the crosshead, goes right through the hollow piston rod, fills the piston up, goes into the next rod, flows through, next piston, and finally comes way out at the end there. This engine is about 60 feet long, including the pump. Weighs about 100 tons. Sits on 100 yards of concrete. Now people say, how do we get it? Well, we were fortunate in that it was donated to us by one Mr. Ed Winter, whose life and times on college down there, if you wish to look. He was in the railroad salvage business and had the equipment big enough to pick these up. Now this engine was built in 1914. It stayed at the Zoar pumping station in Collins, New York, until 1917, at which point it was dismantled, moved down to Buffalo, and there it stayed until 1977, at which point they decommissioned it. It sat there for several years, and finally Mr. Ed Winter got in there and removed it in the winter, and sat in his yard for 20-some years. We got it in 1999, and by about 2004 and a half or 5, somewhere in there, we had it running. It took about 5 years and thousands of man-hours to get it done. A lot of scrubbing, cleaning, fitting, rebuilding broken parts, replacing parts that weren't even there, and to figure out what they were supposed to be and how they worked, and built them up, put them in. Now, this engine requires quite a bit of maintenance. It has many, many other little points on it where it has to be squirted in oil. So we have a crew here that manages to do that, and we thank the crew for being here to do that. We thank all of the volunteers in here because this whole show is done with volunteer labor. We don't hire much of anything else. If you haven't seen, there's a plowing exhibition down on the far end and a big engine building. If you like flea market, we have probably 30 or 40 acres of it. If you like antique villages, shops, and what have you, they're up that way. Up there is also near the gazebo is the Model T put together. They will put a Model T in little pieces all over the ground. They'll put it together in just a few minutes and drive it away. They're pretty quick. I don't move that fast. I don't worry about that. Makes me jealous. I don't even go up there and look at them anymore. Anyway, to get this engine running, we're going to need some volunteers. We've got some young people in here that would like to give this a try. Okay, under 70 is young today. Who's up? We need 2 or 3 people here to help us. There we go. That's the crew I was looking for right down there. Come on up here. I knew we had some somewhere on a Saturday. Don't get out of here. Come on. Come on to the king here. Careful. There we go. Looks like I'm missing somebody. There we are. I knew we had that one. Come on in here. We're going to give everybody some fun. Okay. So you'll set 2 of them up on the valves here. Get the short one on the short valve. Okay. One of you come over here. Okay. One of you come on up here. Now turn it. This is like the box with the glass. It says brake in case of fire. Wait until the fire. We're going to start on 2. I don't know if he's strong enough. He can run the gas valve there. Okay. Now, after a little while, you don't turn yours on right away. You have to wait a little bit. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is you are sitting here ready to go. When you feel the tap you on the shoulder, then you pull down the valve. Can you do that? Okay. Are we about ready to see this thing go?
Yeah, buddy.
We're going to start in a sequence where we turn the air off and get it to run over, and then we're going to do it now. Do that one now. Okay. That first valve charges up the cylinder underneath here, what we call an accumulator. And we're going to start in a sequence here. Okay. Air. Ignition. Fuel. Get your hand on it. Get this one again. Down. Work out over there. There it goes. Hit the air. Now, wait till it's on back over. Here it goes. Air off. Okay, go on. Alright, silicon tanker at this point. Thank you, volunteers. We sure appreciate the help. You can say now that you helped start going. With that, I always get a couple of copies. Oh, you do have a copy. Get it loaded. Thank you very much. Take your seats, please, and we'll continue. Sometimes this thing doesn't want to start right off, so we have to quicken the air when it comes up in the blue pipe, goes into the valve at the end, which distributes the air to each of the system and pushes it back and forth until it fires. We're trying to start it nice and slow because of the problem that we had with the belt comes off. The belt comes off, the governor doesn't work, and that wants to run away. So we have worked on this thing where we got the safety switch down to where if it comes up anywhere near normal operating speed, it will quit. Normal operating 120 RPM, and we now have it set up to where it is 60 RPM running speed. People want to know where the exhaust goes. It comes out on the corner of the building. You can see it sometimes pumping a load on the back here, and that oil is the cylinder's burning up. The ignition system on this is basic great, like you find in many antique engines. It consists of a 6-volt battery. You got coils in the box. Ignition points, which are inside of the combustion chamber. As the engine rotates, the points close, charges the magnet, and just as they open, the magnetic field relaxes very subtly and causes 400 or 500 volts across the point, which is enough to ignite the gas.